Yo, this is Joel Davis,
And I'm Gracie Davis,
and this is Greater Than Real Estate.
where we go deep to find out who you really are beyond real estate.
Well, we are back on Greater Than Real Estate. We have some amazing guests, and want to read a quick little bio. So, Roger and Beth Steinke. Roger retired from the U.S. Navy after 26 years of service, and Beth has extensive experience in corporate and nonprofit business operations. They decided to make a big move after 15 years from San Diego, California, to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. They actually started new careers in real estate in a new place where they knew absolutely no one. Roger and Beth are starting their 10th year in real estate after making the move. They have built their rock-solid business from the ground up, overcoming some challenges along the way. Wow. First off, thanks for being here. We're really excited to have you guys here.
Thank you.
We're glad to be here. Appreciate the opportunity to visit with you guys.
Yeah, so I guess, we can kind of hit it off at the beginning. What made you guys go crazy and move from California to Texas after such an extensive career in the military, and then for you, a career in corporate office? I mean, going from that, not only moving from California to Texas, which is, I'm sure, a culture shock even back then, but going to brand new jobs. I mean, what made you guys get crazy and do that?
It's so funny because a lot of people described what we did as so brave. And to us, it was really a clear path. We had put it together just like you would put any project together that you have to accomplish. And we executed it, I'm going to say, fairly flawlessly.
Very.
Yeah. So what made it happen, the economic writing was on the wall. We were really in a place where our family was doing well, but not thriving. And we knew that there was more, and we knew that there could be more, but we couldn't do it where we were. So we had to change everything. And that was a big decision, and it was a little scary, but we had a lot of safety nets that we had put in place, both financially. Well, one, because Roger did 26 years in the military, so he had his military retirement as a little bit of a safety net. And then also we kind of had a secret sauce. We felt like we really could do this real estate thing, because my last corporate gig was working at a real estate coaching and training company. And so I'd had about 4 years of extensive exposure to what not to do, extensive training in what to do. And so we just started applying that, and we knew we could do it. Although I was talking to one of the folks that I worked with back in California yesterday, and she said, 10 years ago you said, we're going to give this thing a try, and look at what you've done. And sometimes that perspective is a really critical piece to understanding exactly how far you've come.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. So, Roger, with you in the military, very regimental. So I'm going to guess for you on, transitioning to the real estate side, it was, I need to find a structure and I need to find a rhythm, and then you'll be able to thrive.
Well, it was a little bit of that. To be fair, she's always had the real estate bug since I met her. She's always, she's one of those people that looks for houses and things like that. So she's always loved real estate. And so when she started working for Buffini and Company as in their corporate side and getting that knowledge, it just, seeded it a little more. It was something that and then I started, while I was still active duty, I would go to some of these things that her company was doing. They would do training things. I would sit in the back. They needed people, in the seats. So I would just come to those things. I would go to some of their events, and what they taught about real estate and how to run the business really resonated with me, because it was more about relationships than it was find them, fleece them, and forget them.
Yeah.
It was more how if I was going to do real estate, that's the way I'd do it.
Yeah.
So when time ticked on and it was time for me to retire, it just seemed like she loved it so much She did what I wanted to do for a whole bunch of years, so it was only fair that I do what she wanted to do for a whole bunch of years.
Yeah.
So, it just kind of made sense. And I remember sitting in our living room and just saying, "Hey, let's just do this."
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of, that tuning fork moment where she was like, "Yeah, we should do that."
Also, my eyes got really big, and I was like,
Scared to
"Wait,
death.
are you really serious? Like, wait, do you mean that?"
Yeah.
And then that was where we just put the project together, put the plan together, and then executed on the plan. I had to wait till my kid graduated from college so that we could, because he was living with us and going to school about 6 miles away, and we had to finish that out. And then I gave him the news. You know that bright, shiny degree you have? Well, go forth and be successful.
Yeah.
Because we're moving.
Yeah. Did he stay in California?
For a short time.
For a minute. Yeah. His intent was to stay about 2 years, but
Turned into 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, he realized.
He saw the same writing we did.
Yeah, that financially he had this college degree, and he was making, I kid you not, $10 an hour in a job he did not like. But interestingly enough, the way God works, it was a job that gave him a certain skill that when he did make the move to Texas, he was able to get a better job with that certain skill that then was able to get him a better job with that certain skill. And today he's really living in his gifts and working a job that he loves because of that stupid $10
an hour job.
$10 an hour job.
That's crazy. So what year was this when you guys moved?
We made the decision in 2014, and we moved at the end of September through December 2014.
Yeah. That's crazy. Okay. And then so you just moved straight here. What was the process of why Texas? Why Dallas Fort Worth? I mean, you could have gone anywhere else.
Yeah, we could have, and that is a cool
So
thing.
I'm from Kansas City.
Missouri or Kansas?
Kansas.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, there is a difference.
Yep.
Go Chiefs. And I grew up in a little farming town south of Kansas City. Truth be told, I'd never seen the ocean until I joined the Navy and went on my first deployment.
Wow.
So I knew what being landlocked was like. So when we were making our decision about where to go, it was number one after being in California. It was, where can we go where there's not a state income tax? What are the states? She's from Jacksonville, Florida, so we were like, hey, what about Florida? We looked at it. The economy hadn't really bounced back. Tennessee wasn't the bright shining star that it is now.
Yeah.
So we kind of overlooked that. But when we were thinking about Texas, we were like, okay, Texas, no state income tax, big state, plenty of places to be. What's the draw there? They really love their military. There's very good VA facilities here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So, those were all positives that made us look at that. Yeah. And then her job at Buffini & Company, they knew all of the brokers around the country. So she was like, well, here's the places that support the kind of training that we want to do in the way that we run our business. So then it drilled down to, where are those brokerages at? Well, there was a big one here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Century 21 Judge Fight. And so we kind of just said, okay, well, they run the business the way we want to. How about Dallas-Fort Worth?
Yeah.
And the truth is, we really looked at it economically. We looked at, where can we thrive, right? The whole point. That was the point. We were okay in California, but like when I say okay, I mean treading water. You're just barely keeping your head above water, but you're paying your bills and you're doing okay. Credit cards are helping, not hurting as much. And we wanted to move to a place where there were jobs. We wanted to move to a place, because our literal formula was, if we go to a place where there are jobs, then people have money, and where people have money, they buy houses, and where people buy houses, they need realtors. Yeah. That seems like a pretty straight line.
Yeah.
And we looked at many different places in the Southeast. I'm from Florida originally, and then Southern California. I cannot live in a place that has weather. Okay. Now we have some weather here. I will be honest. I don't mind the rain. We have a little colder in the winter than I'm used to, but I'm okay. I'm okay, everybody. I'm okay.
Growing up in Kansas City, you had all the weather, didn't you?
Yeah.
All that snow.
Yeah, more snow than we get here for sure.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And so this is a much better situation for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's being in the military. I moved all the time. So picking up and going to another state isn't so scary for me.
Yeah.
Where some people, like, they've grown up in the same town, lived in the same area.
All
moved-
Texans.
Why leave?
Yeah, exactly. Why leave? Why go anywhere else? But, the military moved me around so much. You live your life like a gypsy. It's no big deal to pick up and go someplace different. So
Right.
it wasn't as scary for us as a military family to make that move.
Yeah.
Whereas some people are just terrified by it.
Yeah, that's why the comments were like, oh my gosh, it's so brave. Now, there were some brave things
Yeah.
in there, right?
Yeah.
Like going to a place that we didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
After we made the announcement we were making the move, we found out that there were a few people here that we didn't know were here. So
cool.
Three people.
Yeah, and they all were people he had served with, actually.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good.
And we've sold them all and
At
sold
least
their
two.
houses.
At least two transactions with
Yeah.
each person
one,
that was
yeah.
in.
So-
That's so cool.
That was kind of wild. We had
That's
lived next
great.
door to one of them in military housing out in San Diego, and then
Wow.
a couple others that he had served with. But that wasn't until after the decision was made that
Yeah.
we figured out that there are
Right.
actually people here that we knew. So
Yeah.
that was
Right.
cool.
So let me ask you this. If you have what suggestions would you give to somebody that's going to make a big step like you guys? So I see a lot of people on TikTok. I'll post, houses in Texas, and they're like, "Yeah, I can't get that here. We got $800,000, or that's $1 million home here." And I literally say one word. I'm like, "Move." Then move. Like, so for you guys,
Yeah.
you did that. You realized what was going on, and that's a scary thing. What would you give advice for somebody that may be in the position you guys were right now?
A plan.
Yeah.
Plan. The whole reason that it worked flawlessly, like Beth said, is because we sat down together and we laid out this plan. It even included a vacation to Italy before we got here.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make sure, because, if you're going to make the plan, make it big.
Joel makes fun of me because we do travel a lot. It's part of the flexibility and freedom of being an entrepreneur,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, not that you make fun of me, but it seems like every time he calls me, I'm like, listen, I'm in someplace exotic, or I'm
Yeah.
getting ready to leave for someplace exotic, or what have you. But
Yeah.
but what we've never spoken about is the fact that in all those years of the military life, none of that happened
Really?
because you couldn't plan something because it was always needs of the Navy.
My life was on a string.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so if you planned a 2-week vacation to somewhere wonderful, put your life savings into it, that could be gone in an instant if the needs of the Navy or the needs of the nation came above that.
Yeah. Yeah. that's
So vacations were very important to me.
Yeah.
When I was exiting, I was like, I want
Yeah.
to do this because, I suffer a little bit from wanderlust. I need to go see something different because I
Yeah.
got to do that. Sure,
Yeah.
I saw it from the deck of an aircraft carrier a lot of
Yeah.
times, but
Yeah.
still, you were seeing something different.
Yeah.
There was always something new on the horizon. So
Right.
I still need to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, to your question though about what advice would I give, I would say that certainly the plan was an important piece of that. But I'm going to tell a quick story. So, our realtor that helped us buy our last house in California and then turn around and sell it a couple years later,
2 years
we
to the
told
day.
him. I told him. I said, I really feel, and this is 2014, I said, I really feel like there's a big exodus coming from California. And at that time, it had not really started. And he said to me these words, "No, Beth, that'll never happen. People will always want to live here." Now, that is true. That has not changed. California is beautiful. It
Yes.
is one of the most beautiful states, a wonderful place to visit. I just wouldn't want to live there anymore.
Yeah.
But what the funny part of that story is, was it last year or the year before? Year before. We helped him and his family buy a house here in Dallas, Fort Worth, and he moved his entire family, 6 kids, here. So he helped me buy and sell a house, and then we got to help him buy a home here in Texas. And all of his family was there. He had grown up. He had been born and raised there. All of them, and that was their home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for us, it wasn't our home, even though we had made it our home for 15 years. And that's hard, right? Like, that's even harder.
Yeah.
And I think that the reality is you have to want something more and different. And if you want to always be near your grandma or always be near your parents or always be near your brothers and sisters, that may not be possible unless you then convince them to come with you, which is okay too, which we did. Our son and his fiance moved out here, and now they just celebrated their 8th wedding anniversary, and they've been together 12 years, and they've been out here almost the exact same amount of time we have. So now they have 2 beautiful little babies that are our precious grandbabies, and so
and anchors to any moves.
Yes, we'll never move again until they do.
We've helped more people more people our age chase their grandkids. Oh, first grandkid's being born in Houston. We're moving to Houston.
Yep.
Yeah.
So so whenever she's like, oh, we could always move somewhere else and do this whole thing. Where are the grandkids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suffer the wanderlust as well a little
Yes.
bit. But, and I will tell you the crux of that is I grew up on the Atlantic coast of Florida, and then he moved me to the Pacific coast of California. And I honestly have, for all of those years, had an ocean within 20 minutes of me.
Yeah.
And so
It's a tough life.
that's a little different. I know, right? But honestly, I don't think I conceptually understood, and it's just going to sound ridiculous, and I understand that. I don't think I conceptually understood that there were people who did not have easy access to an ocean. And so
And great seafood.
and great seafood.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man. So we travel to the ocean.
Yeah, to make up for it.
Yes.
Well, so you mentioned relationships is what you really hooked on to as far as why real estate was going to be a good thing for you. So when it comes to relationships, you guys moved here. Like you mentioned, you knew maybe 3 people that you were in the Navy with. How did you guys build those relationships once you got here? And what did y'all get involved in order to start meeting people and create that network?
Well, real estate is definitely a contact sport.
Yeah.
And you have to get yourself out there. We joined a lot of a few networking groups, but it was mainly just going out and try to meet people and be consistent.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people think, that it's a fast thing. No, it takes time.
Right.
And those first years were really rough. Luckily, we met people through our brokerage, people that would call in. We would take phone time and stuff like that, and open houses, anything to get out and meet people.
Right.
And she shines at that. She is as gregarious as you can get when it comes to being around people, and she's the butterfly that runs the entire room. I'm going to find one person, get to know them in the corner, and that's pretty much, if we do a networking event, she knows I'm going to stay with one person probably the whole time.
She'll never lose you. She'll
know where I'm at.
Exactly. That's true.
But it was just getting out and trying to meet people. That was the crux. We knew it was going to, because you can't have a relationship business unless you have somebody to have a relationship with.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you can't sit on your couch and wait for that stuff to happen. And I think too many people think that if their listing presentation is perfect or if their buyer presentation is perfect,
their talk tracks are perfect.
Yeah, and the people will come, and people don't just show up. It's being out there. And I joined everything I could. If I got invited, I said yes. And that has been a really big payoff for me. And we ended up selling 14 houses that first year.
Wow.
Yeah, in
That's
2015.
crazy.
We started January 1st, 2015, and we ended up selling 14 houses that year, which it was a little crazy. We truthfully, no one in their first year of real estate knows what they're doing. I don't care what they think.
Yeah.
No one does. And so we just muddled through it, and luckily with great leadership and great training. Yeah, and then we just applied some systems. We talked. You asked about systems. We applied some systems so that we could systematically stay in good contact with and care for the community that we were creating, and that has been the difference maker for us ongoing. And we're able to both be effective and efficient in that. Because now we have hundreds of clients that we've served and past clients that we want to stay in good contact with. And that gets harder, right? As if you're selling anywhere from 30 to 50 houses a year, that adds up to a lot of people. And knowing all of the birthdays and the kids' birthdays and the dogs' names, and it does. If you don't have a system for it, you're not doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So my follow-up question on that is, so 14 houses in the first year. Wow, that's crazy. A lot
Well,
of
there was
agents,
2 of us.
oh, true, but a lot of agents wish they could do that in 2 years. I mean, so that's cool. We all know the first couple years are usually the hardest in everything. So, what helped you guys push through when times were tough, or those first 2 years?
There were some tears. I do remember the first time I had to pay for something for a client that was unfair. I don't like unfair things. And I went to my car and I just cried like a baby. So I don't recommend that. But the truth is, and he mentioned it early, the where we hang our license has been a really important player in that game. And I know a lot of people say, oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're you and that you're selling you. And that's true. But the deeper truth for us has been our success was definitely correlative to the support that we got and the support that we continue to get. We have not left that brokerage. We're still there 10 years in. And it's because what they give us allows us to have the confidence to go out and sell real estate at a high level and to go out and perform at a high level and to know that if something goes a bit sideways, that I have not just one person behind me, but literally a team of people, including legal if ever necessary, and thankfully not necessary usually, that are going to have our back. And it allows us the freedom to be able to perform at a high level.
Yeah.
And when I left the military, I was nervous about starting this new endeavor into real estate. And when I got to Texas and I went to a basically it was a meeting with the leadership where they bring other new agents in to introduce themselves to what the company is and all that stuff. I got to meet Jim Fight and Jan Fight Miller and what they have there as a culture. It's like a family.
It's a family.
Yeah.
And that was what I was leaving. I was leaving my family in the military, who I still have deep ties to a lot of people. And I felt that same thing here. And it was at the end of that meeting, I told Beth, I said, we're in the right place.
That's
They have
awesome.
great training. They give us the confidence to go out and
It's
do what we're going to do.
family-owned.
It's family owned, has been family owned since 87 years now.
I mean, since 1937, I don't know how many years that is. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's been
honestly, that's what pushed us through a lot of the hard times. And also, I am, as Roger will say often, a lead sled dog. Like, we are going to work. We're going to outwork most people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to skill most people. We're going to do it better next time than we did it last time. It's constant. So here we are at year.
constant.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Roger?
It's constant.
It is constant.
Constant.
It is. I'm having a chart created right now so that we can self-evaluate every single deal that we do this year. That did we, with a football theme, of course, because we're here in DFW and have the Cowboys and stuff.
Yeah.
But
And the religion
and
of football.
And literally, I want to know: did we have a touchdown? Did we have a field goal, or did we fumble this one? I heard it said this way: that let's say you're giving birth to your beautiful new baby, and the doctor who delivers that baby, if he drops the baby but then hands the baby to you and the baby's okay, did he do a good job? I mean, you got the baby, right?
The end result's the same.
The end result's the same.
Yeah.
But what was
They
the
don't have
experience?
brain damage.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's one way to do that.
What's a very
Yeah.
I heard it said that way, but the truth is, I mean, you got the house. So what if you didn't have a great time doing it? Or so what if you didn't enjoy the process or understand what you were signing? Like, so what, right?
Yeah.
Wrong, right? It can't work like that.
Yeah.
And so not only do we want to deliver the baby, the house, but we want to do it in a way that people feel like it was a good experience, and if we're doing it right, that it was fun along the way. And even though this can be a really stressful thing, you know, we lean into our experience today where we know how things are going to go or how they could go or what could happen if a situation arises. And so we're able to lean into that and walk people through it very carefully and with a great deal of care. But delivering the baby's not enough, right? And take it to a restaurant example. If you order a piece of grilled chicken on rice and you get grilled chicken on rice, I mean, they did what they said they were going to do, but you're not going to rave about it. And, we work by referral. And that means that if we don't deliver you the best chicken rice experience you've ever had, that you are not going to tell your friends about it. You're going to just say, it happened and it was okay and we're in the house. But, ultimately we self-evaluate and then try to level up even, next level. And that has been a really important player in our team game too, is that we have to know, how are we doing? And that's having that lead sled dog to do that, right? So I'm just going to always be like, okay, well, we did 36 last year. Let's do 46 this year. I mean, we're always going to try to do more, but not just more in quantity, more in quality as well. Because if we can't do 56 well, where everybody has that perfect experience or beautiful experience or fun experience, then did we really do a good job?
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into like what does success mean to you guys? Because every real estate agent kind of determines that a little bit differently, like you said, by number of transactions. And it seems like from what you guys have said, the client experience and like really pushing that quality of service is the most important thing to you guys. So what would you say is success when it comes to y'all's specific team and y'all's specific goals for your clients?
Referrals.
Yeah.
Easily.
Well, for sure. That's a good answer.
Because it like she said, that whole experience turns somebody who bought a house into a walking, talking billboard for your business.
Yeah.
Right.
And we've all seen it happen way more now that we have the internet and social media and all these platforms, is that I've seen local restaurants just get destroyed by word of mouth.
Yeah.
And so it's really important to make sure that you are delivering that moment that is going to resonate with that client. So that's really to me, that's the litmus test for, are we being successful, is when we talk to those people and we say, hey, do you know anybody who might, need our service? Oh yeah. In fact, I told this person about you and they're looking at making a move. Getting that feedback is, to me, if we're being successful or not. Because it doesn't matter how much money's in your account. It's your reputation. It's people talking about you in a positive way.
Right.
And I think for me, it's changed over time. I think you're right. I for sure at the beginning of our career, I'd say the first half, it was number of transactions, right? So, if we did 14 in year one, then we should be doing 30 in year two. And I think we did, by the way. Yeah. But then over time, that has become less of a success measure for us. Life has happened a couple of times along the way, and some health challenges that he had and then I had, and yet we were still performing at a pretty high level. In fact, most of our clients didn't even know that we were going through anything, because we've got our systems in place that make the engine continue to purr. But the volume of transactions, to me, is less now a measure of success than it used to be. Today, my measure of success is, did we have a touchdown?
Yeah.
Did we deliver the baby in a way that has that moment, as he said? Like, I think you stated that really beautifully, because, and then the ultimate reward for delivering that baby in a beautiful way is that we get that referral and we get to serve someone's mom or sister or first-time buyer, son or daughter. Like, that's a really special trust that we get to have.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Absolutely. That's something that's taught at our company, and is just creating that referable experience, because insurance, as I'm sure you guys know, nobody really loves talking about insurance. Nobody is like, God, I can't wait to call my insurance agent and complain about my insurance going up.
Right.
So something that I was taught by the great Johnny Preston at our company is just that make it a fun experience, make it an enjoyable experience for someone who has to discuss insurance. And I feel like actually buying a home is typically a more enjoyable experience for someone.
Yeah. I think so.
Because they're, achieving a great goal that they've really set out to accomplish for them or their family. So I definitely agree with just creating that referable experience, creating that atmosphere where they can trust you to not only take care of them, but their friends, their family, and they can't wait to refer you because they're just like, this person made my life so much easier, so much better. And so, yeah, that's great. I'm glad that you guys see it that way too, because it's definitely not everybody's point of view in the industry.
You can definitely see the transaction counters and then the people that deal with relationships in this business,
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's the one thing that gets me going. I love this. Like when I die, I know the money's not going with me. So like I want to work with people that I love talking to. Like if I get a phone call from an agent and I'm like, holy crap, I do not want to answer this phone call. It's not somebody I want to work with.
Yeah.
But being able to like call you, you're like, I love talking to you, Beth. You're so much fun to talk about. I live vicariously through you with all of the trips that you're taking. But it's been so cool to be able to get to know you. And also my follow-up with that is you just overcame something massive that a lot of people don't get the opportunity to do. But I'm curious, one, you're in remission, correct?
Yes. So currently I am cancer-free. I had a little bout with this kidney cancer thing, which was quite a surprise.
Yeah.
And it was because I, believe it or not, was the healthy one in the family. And Roger had his own, he had a major health struggle, including being life flighted because we thought he was going to die in 2018. So we had a couple of things along the way. But most recently, I was diagnosed on accidental finding with a tumor on
Praise
my
the Lord
kidney.
that they did find it.
Yes, 100%. And it was, God works through all kinds of crazy things. But that was an ATV ride in Alaska that created, I had a chronic low back issue, and it had aggravated it because we were all over. We had a great time. That was the best ATV ride, like hiking in the mountains, and all I wanted to see was a bear. But instead, I got an MRI when I got back on my low back, and a heads-up MRI radiologist said, there's something on this kidney, and they could only see a partial image, and that started a whole series of events that thankfully we are done for now. It's a highly reoccurrent cancer, so it is not something that I will ever have in my rearview mirror. Because the kidneys filter your blood, and your blood is all over your body, and so there's always in the back of your mind, especially when it's time for scans, which will be for many years, if not forever. Are they going to find anything? Are they going to find something somewhere else? And I asked my oncologist, I said, where is it likely to reoccur? And his answers literally were anywhere and everywhere. He said it can be in your brains, bones, blood, liver, your other kidney, your skin, just literally everywhere. So I am cancer-free at the moment, and I pray that we will always be able to say that. That's the hope. And I went through an entire year of immunotherapy so that I would have 9% more chance to stay cancer-free. So it was a rough year, but it was funny because most of our clients, in fact, when I did finally announce it on Facebook or, to my clients, and most of that was on Facebook, they said, oh my gosh, like literally we bought a house during that time. We had no idea. Well, that's the way I wanted it. And that's the way, because people do make assumptions about you and about, I don't want to bother them. They are going through so much. Well, yeah, but also we need to eat, and pay our mortgage, so we would like for you to bother us all the time. It's never a bother, right? So, and then Roger's thing he had was equally challenging. We had just gotten back from Cozumel, And
Wow.
I see a pattern here.
yeah,
Stop traveling. No.
yeah,
No,
And-
travel brings it out.
yeah.
Do
you wanna share?
Yeah, I got back from that trip and I woke up the next morning and I told her, I said, I'm just tired, just worn out. And I had a little bit of a pain in my neck, and I was like, maybe must have caught something.
Yeah.
That's what everybody, oh, I just caught a bug or something. So she said, just relax, take the day. And so I did. And as, then I went to see the doctor, and he was like, yeah, you probably caught a bug. Here's a prescription to go get filled, to let it run its course. Well, by the second or third day, my entire neck was sore, and it was starting to move down. The pain was starting to move down to my chest, this muscle soreness.
Whoa.
And I'm like, there's a really important muscle a little further south that I probably ought to go get seen. So,
Wow.
so I call my wife, who's out, working the business,
Showing houses,
and she
Yeah.
said,
Busy.
and I said, honey, I'm going to drive myself to the ER. I think something's up. And she's like, great. Can you write this contract for me before you go?
100% true.
And
First of all, to be fair, I thought he had the flu.
yeah,
Okay.
it really felt like the flu.
Right.
And
really
I,
did
that's
think
what
he
I
had
that's
the
what I
flu.
thought too. But when something told me something's up. So I went to the ER. They found out that my enzymes were elevated, heart enzymes,
cardiac
which means that
enzymes.
something was definitely going on.
Yeah.
And I went downhill really fast. I had viral myocarditis, which means a virus was attacking my heart muscle. This is something that kills a lot of people because you feel like the flu. You just feel kind of tired.
They don't get. They
I mean-
don't go
They
to the
just don't do it.
hospital.
So
You just see-
interesting enough about, of course, I Googled the mess out of that.
Dr. Google.
Yeah.
And by the way, he was life flighted to Baylor, Dallas, like the next day. And so
Wow.
then when he did finally come out of what was a pretty low point, he said, and you said, I just had the flu. So
You
that's
just said I
our,
was man sick.
yeah, I did. He couldn't come to something on a social event, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's home. I think he's just man sick. I did. Look, I learned some lessons there.
Hey, you heard that? You better write that down.
He said on his tombstone it'll say,
I told you I
Just
was sick.
Nancy. Yeah.
I told you I was sick.
yeah. So, anyway, yeah, it was.
So I came out of stage 4 heart failure. I was at Baylor, amazing hospital, great care. Love those people to death. They saved my life.
They did. But when he flew and we got there, and I will say when you're in the middle of some of this stuff, no one really tells you the whole story. They just tell you the bits and pieces that you need to know
Right.
to make the next decision.
Right.
And we roll up there, and the doctor on call introduces himself to me, and he says, I'm Dr. So-and-so, do not remember his name. And I'm with the transplant team. And I'm like, what? Wait, what? Wait,
Yeah.
what? And so that all they told us at Mansfield Methodist was, we don't have the equipment needed for the treatment that we need to send you. But
And that
yeah.
was to take my heart out and put a new one in.
Yeah.
They
so
didn't have that.
we didn't have to do that
That's-
because
wow.
he, being the healthy human that he was able to recover very quickly. But
Wow.
that was traumatic for
Oh,
both of us
yeah.
in a lot of ways. But he fully recovered. And by the way, they did not expect full recovery. They said it's the
Wow.
faster you get sick, the faster you can recover. But it can do some serious
And luckily, my
damage.
cardiologist, Dr. Gottlieb at Baylor, had studied viral infections in hearts and stuff like that. So he knew what was going on. So even my aftercare, because usually, stage 4 heart failure, they put you on this cocktail of medicines that you're going to be on.
Yeah.
And he was like, we're going to leave this one off because he goes, I think you're going to bounce back. And so now I am completely off any heart medications. I only take an aspirin, which was
Wow.
the thing that he added afterwards. He goes, yeah, it'll just help, thin out your blood a little bit, make it easier. That's the only thing I'm still taking, and I'm, starting to work out again, things like that.
The
So
good news is we've seen every image of his heart imaginable, and his heart's in great shape. So he
Yeah.
has nothing. I mean, so
Wow.
we're aging every day, and a lot of people suffer with heart related conditions. No, he went straight to like heart failure, but like a bounce back champion. He is he's doing really good, and frankly, so am I. And
Yeah.
so now we're just attacking. Now that I have my energy back from that treatment, we're just attacking everything that we weren't able to. New systems, more systems, better systems,
Yeah.
and continuing on as if nothing has happened. And I think for both of us, one of the oddest experiences out of having something big like that happen, and the people who love you, and by the way, Texans show up and show out when you get sick.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the meal trains.
Yeah.
By the way, that does not happen in California.
Really?
Just want you to know that does
Wow.
not happen in California.
Wow.
Nor had I had never been the subject of one, nor had I ever been asked to participate in one in the
Wow.
15 years I was there.
Wow.
That is a very Midwestern or Texas thing to do, and
Yeah.
we love
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
I mean, we had everything. People come into the house to cut his hair, and for me,
That
the
is
meal train,
awesome.
like it was pretty impressive. Texas, I will say,
Wow.
pretty
Yeah.
impressive. It makes you know that you've made some good choices in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was the thing. But what was really shocking is the people who care about you want to continually ask you about these things. And so
Yeah.
when he recovered, we had really put it in our rearview mirror, and we had gone to a conference a few months later, and all of the real estate folks that we love and that love us throughout the country, we have amazing connections around the country and even in Canada, would ask him, "Oh my gosh, how are you? How are you?" And it like took you right back to that moment. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're right back in those emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest thing that you guys learned from each of those encounters?
Besides, Texans are great cooks.
None of us are getting out of here alive,
Mm.
and every day is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also to that, we are a little more understanding, and when we meet somebody, we know they've got something else going on.
Yeah.
And sometimes they come off a little gruff sometimes, or they're having a bad day. There's something behind that, and so we try to be as empathetic and
It's a really good point.
yeah,
It's a
and
really good point.
everybody's going through something, and so
Yeah.
we try to be as understanding and helpful as we can.
Yeah.
Right.
And especially when you're selling someone's home, I think there's the reason they tell you they're selling,
Yeah.
and then there's the real reason.
Mm.
And sometimes it can be divorce. Sometimes it can be financial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't want to say, "I can't afford my mortgage payment. I'd
Yeah.
like you to sell my home."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they tend to, people who are dealing with those like extra things that are happening behind the scenes that some people will share it with you. And that is another just such a huge trust for them to be able to say, "Look, here's our real situation, and we need to be out of this by this date." And other people they'll just act out, just act
Yeah.
out and be rude. And gruff is a good way to put it, but they'll be
Yeah.
mean at
Yeah.
times. But it's because they've got pressures on them that they have not opened up and shared about. So
Yeah.
there's the real
Yeah.
reason, and then sometimes there's the
reason that sounds good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys are so grounded and just full of joy that it definitely shows. And I can see why clients trust you guys to be able to take care of them, especially with all the experiences you've had and just how you've continued to stay positive about all of your circumstances is very encouraging.
Well, I don't give him a choice.
Yeah.
I don't feel like you give him very many choices.
Now, let's be fair. I went into this with my eyes open. And
We've been married 26 years this year, so we're good,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I feel that. But he
Blink,
a
tells
lot-
me-
a
blink
of-
twice if you're in trouble.
my safe word is yellow. No. One of the things that I've been married to this woman for a long time, and it wasn't until I think 2 years ago, and it was before all the health things really popped up for her. As I told her, I said, "You know what? You never really have a bad day.
Yeah.
I've never seen you depressed. I've never seen you, not want to get out of bed, not want to greet your day, not want to, charge out there and do good. you're not one of those people that is like that. And she's like, well, there's always tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so she's been a beacon. Lead sled dog is what I say a lot, and I'm the poor dog that's dragged by his collar that's on the team. But
so that's why your neck was hurting at the beginning.
Yeah,
Is because she was pulling.
I
I mean, he had just gotten back from Cozumel. Come on.
No, vacation.
I mean, I let him have
relaxing.
vacation. So I did not know until he said that to me what a superpower that was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like you have the perspective that you live with every day and in your head and the way you think and your self-talk and all of that stuff. And it is very common, and especially for me, to believe that that's how everybody else is too.
Yeah.
Well, apparently that's not true.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll be a soundboard for you as well, 100%. When I call Beth, I'm never getting a down Beth. Like,
No.
I'm always getting a Beth that is joyful, love to talk, even if she's like super busy, like, hey, I only got a couple minutes. Like, she is always joyful, very present, and I'll be 100% soundboard for that. And that's very,
Thank you.
I've learned that too, that a lot of people aren't like that. And that's what makes this business so cool, because we get to exuberate that joy. And I found just the most awesome definition of joy. For a long time, a lot of people want to compare it to happiness. Happiness is fleeting, but for joy, joy is the expectant of good to come. And that just completely changed my thought about joy, because we know the Lord's going to provide for us, and he's going to provide enough, and he is enough. And just the expectant of good to come just like completely just changed my thought process about joy. So
Yeah, I love that. I think, you know, and the thing that, so I have that eternal optimism and joy-filled opportunity. Like every day is a new opportunity, and that is a very trite saying, but the truth is, it's how I live.
yeah.
But what he brings me is about a counterbalance to some of that drive and determination and lead sled dogness. Is he teaches me contentment and to be joyful and happy with what you have.
Yeah.
And that what you have is good enough, and that you don't have to always be getting the bigger house or the nicer car or the luxury this or that, or, you know, or spend money to fill holes that you should fill in other more positive ways.
Yeah.
You know, he teaches me contentment. And so, you know, it speaks to our crazy partnership that is sometimes hard. You know, working with your spouse. I certainly have bumped into those husband-wife teams who are like, I get to work with my best friend all day, every day. And it's hard.
So what's the real reason?
Yeah.
It's hard sometimes, you know, and because I'm a pusher, I'm a motivator, I'm a driver, I'm a high D, you know, and he's actually the more facilitative and I don't want to say sensitive because that's an overstatement, but he has a completely opposite personality than I do, which is, it brings a whole amazing human experience to our clients because what I bring is so different than what he brings. And so when our clients get to experience the both and, it's a complete experience, and not just, they don't have to just have, you know, me being like, all right, let's go do this, 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 and this, and then we'll be done and it'll be great and you're going to love the house. But he is the feeler and the listener and the, you know, the person that can bring that depth of experience to them, because he is a listener, and I might be a little more of a teller and he might be a little more of a listener. And so our clients do enjoy.
My favorite thing to do is point out to clients when they get in the house and they love it. And I'm like, okay, all the bedrooms are up, the laundry's down. Are you okay with humping laundry up and down the stairs? And I try to give them a vision of you living here and what that would entail. And
From a practical side.
and we're getting ready to list a house today of a client that I told that to, and she goes, you know, I didn't think that was going to be a big deal, but it really is. It really is a big deal. You know.
And she's young and healthy.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
and able to go up and down stairs with her laundry. But anyway, but he brings that practical eye too. So it's kind of fun when we back ourselves up and think about it. And we recently posted a picture where we got in one of those big old showers that like a party shower.
Yeah.
And we had the builder take a picture of us and our clients, all 4 of us in the shower. And there was still plenty of room, I think, for about 6 more people. And, that's what I mean. Let's have fun. Let's do some fun things along the way and enjoy the journey, because it's a big deal for people. Buying a home it's no small thing. And even people who've done it multiple times, we want it to be a good experience. We don't want to just deliver the baby. We want the baby to be okay.
Yeah.
We want them to be okay about the way it all went down.
Yeah.
So anyway, so it's fun.
So let's talk about some of y'all's most memorable client experiences, whether it be amazing experiences, crazy experiences. If there's any that you guys that really stick out to you that y'all want to share.
Is there a Fifth Amendment for this?
You don't have to include any names.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll definitely won't do that.
One in particular, and it's a good experience. I got a phone call from a lead service, and we don't pay for leads, and we really don't want to do business other than working by referral or people that organically come to us.
Yeah.
But in this particular case, it came through a lead service, and I got the person on the phone, which is rare right there. And she says, I just got named the loan finalist for a school superintendent position in our local area. And so she didn't know anybody. She was not from this area. And we were able to get her taken care of right away. We found a builder spec home that wasn't quite finished, but she needed to be in the area. And being the crazy humans that we are, this person whom we did not know and her 2 high school and college age daughters came to live with us for 3 months while they were waiting, because she had to be.
What?
And we had the
In the
space in our
district.
house.
We had the space.
Wow.
We had the space in our house, and we were just like, and it was close enough for her to get to work. And so we're like, yeah, sure.
So I
That's next level service, right?
Oh my
next level
gosh.
service. But I will tell you, right? So not a personal referral, but I figured, how bad could she be? Because she's going to be a superintendent.
School superintendent,
yeah. She's educated. She's got to have a good reputation, right? So I figured I was pretty safe. So it was a safe bet. But what transpired from there was the deepest of friendships began to grow, and now we are family.
Yeah.
And we've now sold the house. She's now gotten a job at a bigger school district outside of the area.
We weren't happy about that.
We're not happy about the fact that she's far, but I literally went down in Texas still. So I went down and helped her buy her new house too. I wasn't the agent, but I helped her pick the house, and that's how close we are at this point. And I love her and her entire family, and they're precious to us. And well, you're right, that is next level service, but that was really one of the most memorable on the positives. And she didn't murder us in our sleep, and and honestly, her kids are like, we love them. Her 2 girls, we love them just as much as we love our own, I think, in some ways. So
that baby was
delivered.
That baby
Delivered,
was
clean, polished, wrapped, swaddled
With a
on
nice
a
little
gold
bow.
with a
platter.
bow. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and think about what it took for her to say yes
Yeah.
to that offer,
Yeah.
So honestly, God, it works through all of it. And
That is so cool.
because she said yes. And had she said, no, I've got a friend up in Dallas. What, no, that's too far.
Yeah.
We got you. And it was all good.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
All good.
What about you, Roger?
What that would that was the same client.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking
you
of
can't beat that experience.
Well,
Yeah, if we went, there was one that I won't forget, and I don't know. Do you want the crazy stories
Yeah,
for real?
bring it
Oh,
on.
Gosh. Well, it was early in our career. It was either year 1 or 2, and this client called us just randomly on the phone. We didn't know anybody at that point, right?
Yeah.
So we only got random crazy people that called us and wanted to sell their home. I'm like, great. And they wanted to buy a new home. Great, I can do both of those things. And we found them the new home. We looked at many. We found them the new home they wanted. They bought it. They didn't have to buy to sell.
Yeah.
Or sorry, sell to buy. So they bought it, and they got moved in. We listed their home for sale, and
Went under contract
and
pretty quick.
We sold it, or got it under contract, and they freaked out. They're very small children. I think they were like 2 and 4. said they didn't want to move, and so now they did not want to move, even though they had already bought the other house, like bought it, closed.
Whoa.
And so they even asked me, so much so that they asked me to try to convince the buyer not to buy their house, and so they were going to buy out the buyer, like say, we'll offer you this amount of money if you'll just walk away. And of course they said no, we're not.
The buyer was like, I've been looking for this kind of house
For a year.
For a year. So he
Yeah.
was like, no, I'm not going to break this. And so
there were so many phone calls, so many texts, so much anger and angst and upset, and because they had made all of these grown-up decisions. And then now suddenly, somehow it's our fault for doing what you hired us to do. And it was wild. And I ended up so traumatized by the entire experience that I had to change the ringtone on my phone. And then I just left my phone on silent for like the next 2 years because, and that's not an exaggeration, I keep it on silent most of the time because the noise, the sound was associated with, oh my gosh, it's
Triggering.
going to be.
she's calling again.
Yeah, she's
Right.
Oh my
she's
gosh.
texting me again. She
Oh
would
my
text,
gosh.
she would like string text, free flow thought string text about how upset she was and how terrible it was, and the new pool is too shallow, and and like you just wouldn't.
Wow.
Anyway, that was pretty traumatic, but and so many stories inside that one story that I could tell you, but. And these are, by the way, the same people who wrote this extensive letter about how this house to the seller, about how this house was going to be the most perfect house so that they would be chosen to buy the house. And but apparently none of that was real. I don't know.
Wow.
It's one of those situations where we don't really know what all the dynamics were. But when you're listening to your 2- and 4-year-old about that they don't want to move, and that's
a problem.
That's your driving factor. Yeah, that's
a real-
little concerning.
it's a real problem.
That's a problem.
So, yeah.
So what ended up happening? They had the new house and the other one.
Well, the
got
buyer
sold?
refused to.
Yeah.
They
terminate.
closed.
So
They were
got
supposed
it.
to.
Closed,
Yeah.
and I believe they still live there today. But I
Yeah.
immediately took them out of my database and said, no.
No,
No.
Yeah.
please do not
No.
reach out again.
Yeah, choice is a beautiful thing, and
Yeah.
having creating a business where you have choice. You mentioned it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That you know who you want to work with,
Yeah.
how you
Mhm.
want to work, how you want to be treated. Is a beautiful thing, and honestly,
Yeah.
I felt like I had been in an abusive relationship. Honestly, it
Oh
was
my
it was
gosh.
really really
Wow.
bad, and I had never been in an abusive relationship, so I had not experienced such things before. So
Right.
Yeah.
it was crazy, but
Yeah.
I'm glad that's over many years ago. But boy, I remember it like it was yesterday, and changed my ringtone and my text tone so that it wouldn't be quite so triggering. It's
Yeah.
a perfect word for it. And on we went, and we continued to sell. And by the way, they bought in the and sold in the city in which I live, and I think that I will see them one day somewhere, but I never have. Tell me there's not a divine
Yeah.
hand.
Well, that's because DFW is massive.
But they live in my city, so
Yeah.
That's
I've never
crazy.
seen them at a restaurant, at a grocery store, anywhere. So
Thank
you
you,
better knock
Jesus.
on wood.
Yeah,
You
right.
better not. It's gonna
Yeah.
happen now.
I'm sure you avoid that street.
I do.
You don't have to take any
I
routes
have trauma.
down that
If anybody's
area.
like, "Hey, we want to see this house on the street," you're like, "Yeah, no, you can go find another realtor." Like, I'm not
yeah.
going.
Oh
No,
I mean,
then she just
honestly.
sends me.
Yeah, he can.
You can handle it.
You
he
do
can
the dirty
handle
work.
some stuff. He can handle the stuff. He's handled a lot of stuff in his military career. He's handled a lot of things.
I've been chewed out by admirals. It doesn't.
It doesn't
Yeah,
phase
he's
you.
It doesn't
good.
faze me.
He's good, thank goodness. Because even though I say he's the more feely one, I am very aesthetic around the way I hear things, and
Yeah.
I don't want to be yelled at or
Yeah.
be upset. And I hate delivering bad news, so I typically will.
Makes me do it.
I typically will say, "Hey, Roger," and I mean, you're going to have to call him.
And our
Yeah.
clients picked up on it. It's like, Roger, you're calling me.
That means
You
something
that
bad
means
happened.
something bad's happening.
Well, you did have
Well,
a client pick up on.
She did, yeah, and she did. Be like, Beth delivers the good news. Roger's the bad news guy.
It's always a good cop, bad cop.
I mean,
Always.
somebody has to do it.
Yeah,
It just shouldn't.
might as well be Roger.
It might
No.
as well be Roger. He's very good, and he does a great job. So anyway.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, we're going to wrap it up, but we have one last final question. So, what we've realized going into this business and as we get older, a lot of people put their identity and their worth in their jobs. Have you guys ever experienced that in your lifetime, and what helped you overcome that?
Yes. 26 years in the military. That is
It's more than a job.
it is your identity. And I challenge anybody who retires from the military and doesn't have their identity somewhat wrapped up in their rank, their job, what they did. And it was very important. I mean, strangers walking up to you when you're in uniform and saying, thank you for your service. That stops. That period of time that 26 years of my life since I was 18 years old until,
And you were at the top of your game too.
Yeah.
Like
that was the rough part too. Is I was really good at what I did.
Yeah, the weird thing about the military is you hit the pinnacle of knowledge, the pinnacle of your performance, you're the best that you're going to ever be. Maybe not physically because, it's a long time, when you're in your mid 40s at this point.
And they wear you down pretty bad.
And, yes, they use it. And then they say, it's time for you to go. And which is the craziest thing. And so you're in this various state of readiness. And luckily for us, I think you were in a really solid state of readiness to leave the military for the most part.
Well, you can only take so much.
And you transitioned much better than I expected you to.
Well, it helped that we left the area.
Yeah.
Because 15 years of being around the people in the military, it would have been real easy to just stop by the old command and do those kind of things and not let go. But, moving away, starting this new job.
And you were really clear you did not want to stay in the same. So he was in
defense acquisition for a little while. And so I got to see the contract side of the military and that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of people that when they do get out, they a lot of times they just come in the next day in civilian clothes and they're working as a contractor doing the same job they were doing before. So
you were pretty clear you did.
I was clear. I did military aircraft for a long time, and I was like, I want to do something different.
Yeah.
Because there was offerings from different aircraft manufacturers that I had relationships with people with, and so I was like, well, I could pursue those and just keep going down this road, or I could do something completely different.
Yeah.
And so that was a real struggle. But like I said, when I got here to Dallas and met the leadership that's at Century 21 Judge Fight, and I felt at home. They were the family. They were the family tribe.
Yeah.
That I could
really be a part of.
Yeah. So it was that that helped a lot in my transition. I go to the VA and I see these guys walking around with their hats and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm like,
we call those a dig-it.
Yeah.
Like the cult at A&M.
Oh,
We call it
There we go.
Dig
a
'em.
dig-it, right?
A
Like,
dig-it.
I mean, like it's those people who really dig it, right?
Yeah. And they just can't let it go. And
Yeah.
and because their identity is wrapped up in that. And I am proud of the service that I did. I'm proud of the people that I served with. But when they just say, you don't get to do that anymore, you either suck it up and go on to the new thing, or you live in your past. And that's no way to grow. That's no way to be a different person.
And of course, they told him he was going to retire, and I said, no,
Retire?
that's the wrong word. You're in your mid 40s, buddy. We're not retiring. So there'll be none of that. So no, but and I think I don't know that I have had my identity tied up into any one thing, at least not professionally.
Yeah.
I mean, in the past, certainly there were some things. My nonprofit that we helped grow from a garage to 20 locations across the U.S. into this nationwide nonprofit supporting military, wounded, ill, and injured. And that was that was one of those things that I had massive identity around. I was a military spouse. We were in war time, and we were doing this really big thing. I got to go to the Pentagon on multiple occasions and meet with the Secretary of Defense, and had all of these amazing experiences. And then all of a sudden, during that 2008, 9, 10 financial crisis that real estate was having, the nonprofits suffered greatly during that recession. And so we had a drawdown, and I was let go or laid off, however you want to say it. And it was the next, God is perfect in the way that he runs the world that we live in. And I had about 6 months of downtime. Nobody was hiring. I'd never wanted for a job in my life, and nobody was hiring. And then all of a sudden, in the spring of the following year, I started getting opportunities, and one of those opportunities was to work for a real estate coaching and training company that was all about personal growth and development, and it was an amazing thing. And that one thing is what led to all the rest.
Yeah.
So life is fun that way.
Yeah. Well, we've had a blast having you guys here. We really appreciate you guys.
Taking the time to be here and share your story.
Well, it's been a joy to be here, and always fun to see you, Joel and Gracie. We love you guys, and thanks for letting us share a little bit about our crazy life.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
That wraps it up. Thanks everybody for watching. Want to give a shout out to Tap In Studios, where we do this podcast. Also want to give a big shout out to Roger and Beth Steinke. If you guys are looking for a home all over the DFW, they are the team to go to. And we just thanks for coming and watching.
Thank
you.